A packet of cigarettes earns a corner shop a few pence. A lottery ticket earns around 5. Those are the two things that get most people through the door. You are not being paid to sell them. You are being paid a small commission to be the place where other companies sell them, and you are hoping the customer picks up something else on the way to the till. That hope is the entire business, because the shop does not make its money on the thing you came in for. It makes it on the thing you did not plan to buy. The chocolate by the till, the second bottle, the bag of ice on a hot afternoon. Everything about the layout is built around that one extra item, which is why the milk is at the back of the shop and the sweets are at the height of a child's eye. The average transaction is small. A few pounds, a couple of items, 30 seconds at the counter. So the shop lives or dies on two numbers that it can barely influence. How many people walk past the door, and how much each one can be persuaded to add. Now look at what is actually on the shelf, because this is where it stops being a normal business. Pick up a can of drink in a corner shop, and there is a very good chance the price is printed on the can itself before it ever reached you. A price-marked pack. 99 pence. Printed at the factory. You did not set that price. You cannot raise it because the number is physically on the product and the customer can read it. You can technically sell below it and make even less. So consider what has just happened. The two things a business normally controls are what it stocks and what it charges. In a great many corner shops, both have been decided by somebody whose name is not above the door. And in a lot of cases, neither is the name above the door. Look at the fascia on a great many small shops. Spar, Premier, Nisa, Londis, Cost Cutter. Those are not chains in the way people assume. They are symbol groups, and the arrangement is roughly this. You keep ownership of your shop, you take their sign, their branding, and their promotions, and in return, you agree to buy a substantial share of your stock through their wholesaler. What you get is real. Deliveries you could not otherwise arrange, buying power you could not otherwise access, a recognizable name, and shelves that look like a proper shop rather than a cupboard. What you give up is the ability to shop around. The terms vary a great deal, and some are genuinely flexible, so this is not one arrangement, but many. But the shape will be familiar if you have watched anything else on this channel. You are an independent business, tied to a supplier, buying at prices set by that supplier, under a brand you are renting. It is the pub beer, Thai, in a smaller building with a chiller. Then there is the shop itself, which you are almost certainly renting, on a high street or a residential corner, and the rent does not move. It is the same on a wet Tuesday in February, as it is on the Saturday before Christmas. The rates do not move. The refrigeration runs 24 hours a day, whether anybody comes in or not, because the chillers cannot be switched off overnight. And the electricity bill for a shop full of open-fronted fridges is not a small line on the accounts, so you have fixed costs that run constantly, against a margin that is thin on everything, and almost nothing on the products that bring people in. And then there is the stock that quietly disposes of itself. A corner shop carries milk, bread, sandwiches, fruit, chilled ready meals. All of it is date-coded, and all of it has to be there in reasonable quantity. Because a customer who finds no milk at 7 in the evening does not wait until tomorrow. They walk on, and they remember. So you carry more than you expect to sell, and at the end of the code, life you reduce it, or you write it off. Add to that the losses nobody advertises. Breakages, miscounts, theft, which in a small shop with one person behind the counter and blind corners is a permanent, unglamorous drain. None of that is dramatic. It is a few pounds here and a few pounds there, in a business whose margin is already measured in pennies, which explains the hours. A corner shop commonly opens 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is very often staffed by the family that owns it, because the margin will not comfortably support paying somebody else to stand there. That is not a lifestyle choice, and it is not a work ethic. It is what the arithmetic requires. The only way to make the numbers work is to take the wage out of the equation by doing the standing yourself. And here is the part that is genuinely difficult, because the ground is moving underneath all of it. The 2 footfall drivers we started with are both in long-term decline. Smoking rates in the United Kingdom have been falling for decades. Physical lottery ticket sales compete with an app that lives in the customer's pocket. Cash, which was the reason a great many people came in at all, is used less every year, and the card fee on a £1.40 transaction takes a meaningful bite out of a margin measured in pennies. At the same time, the supermarket has come to you. The convenience format, the express store, the small high street branch, backed by a buying operation you cannot compete with, opening the same hours you do. You cannot beat them on price because you are buying at a worse price. You cannot beat them on range. What you have is proximity, opening hours, and the fact that you know the customer's name. That is a real advantage, and it is not nothing, but it is being asked to carry an enormous amount. So if you do decide to buy a corner shop, understand what you are actually buying. You are not buying a business that sells things. You are buying a small, permanently open distribution point for other companies' products. In a building you rent, under a sign you rent, at prices somebody else printed on the packaging, earning a commission on the very items that bring people through the door. You rent the building, you rent the sign, you sell at a price somebody else printed. The shop is yours. Almost nothing in it is, and the pennies are made on the thing the customer did not come in for.